Right, 24 November 2023, and today I want to deal with SADC and what is happening in Zimbabwe. Many of you have got questions regarding to the status of the SADC initiatives in Zimbabwe, and this week the 9 SADC ambassadors arrived in Zimbabwe, and they went and visited President Mnangagwa, and propaganda has been awash in the local media. People saying that SADC has congratulated President Mnangagwa. And unfortunately, that's not the correct position. SADC has not congratulated President Mnangagwa. In fact, the committee of SADC ambassadors from all the 9 countries that are in SADC, and the chairperson from Angola, the dean of SADC from Mozambique, and the vice chairman, they were there. So the reason why they went to Zimbabwe was not to congratulate President Mnangagwa, but to continue the process of now resolving the report from SIOM. And during that report, because ED is so difficult, it's very difficult to deal with, they have to be very diplomatic in their language. When they talk, they cannot openly criticize ED. You must understand how ED is in Southern Africa. There is no one who has been in politics in Southern Africa longer than President Mnangagwa. So all these countries have had to deal with President Mnangagwa one way or the other. But where we are, there is no going back. The Zimbabwe election, 2023 election, has been declared not free and fair. And the various organs of SADC are now dealing with how to solve the crisis in Zimbabwe. There is a crisis, and the crisis has been declared. So what ED did was, he then presented a statement during that meeting with the ambassadors. But you will not know the rest of the discussion that took place. However, the discussion is to do with the elections. And I've got the full speech from ED, not the one that you saw on YouTube. And I want to point you to a section. And the section, I'm going to eventually upload this on gambaku.com. So here he says, I call upon you ambassadors from SADC to focus on economic diplomacy towards harnessing economic potential of our region, drawing from our respective comparative and competitive advantages. More must be done to deepen the cooperation between and among our countries. This must be in the context of our regional industrialization and integration agenda, as well as the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. So what ED is saying here is the SADC must not be dealing with the politics, but they must be dealing with business. And he says, I urge you ambassadors to promote relations between your capitals in Zimbabwe to uplift more of our people out of poverty and into prosperity. May I also thank you most sincerely for the gesture of solidarity and support afforded by the courtesy call. I look forward to continue deepening of our cooperation. So as I said, I'll upload this speech by ED, the full speech, onto gambaku.com within the next hour or so. So ED has been blocking the Committee of Elders from coming to Zimbabwe. And he has, when he went to Angola, he failed to present his position on this report. But the report was adopted. And so what is left is for the recommendations of the heads of states to be implemented. And the recommendations of the heads of states of SADC is that there must be dialogue in Zimbabwe and ED rigged the election. This is what is concluded by the heads of state. So they won't just leave it. And I want to point you to the terms of reference of the Committee of Ambassadors. The Committee of Ambassadors does not just come to you for a visit. They are a resolution body. So once everything else has failed, then they go to the Committee of Elders. And then if you go to the SADC website, you see that there's no statement on why the SADC ambassadors are in Zimbabwe. So if you go to SADC.int, that is where they say everything that they're doing. They didn't write anything. They don't want to contradict the private conversations that they're having. And so it says here, the Committee of Ambassadors and High Commissioners, they advise SADC National Committee on issues related to the implementation of SADC programs and initial activities, facilitate interaction and consultation between member states and the SADC Secretariat. So what they are doing now is to communicate what the SADC Secretariat is saying to Mnangagwa. And ED will then communicate what he's saying to SADC Secretariat. And remember, the SADC Secretariat is permanent, whereas heads of state, they change. So next year, there'll be a new head of state in another country. For example, you'll find out that after the elections in Madagascar, there'll be a new president there, or there'll be the same president, doesn't matter. But the secretariat still is the same. And the current secretariat is very, very strong. It's well organized. They are implementing SADC and strengthening SADC. Unlike PAP, the Pan-African Parliament, where ED has managed to put Charumbira, and Charumbira is refusing to step down. They've thrown him out, but he's refusing to step down. So there's no secretariat there at PAP. The corruption that is happening at PAP actually involves the people that are supposed to be in the secretariat. And if you look at yesterday's statement by PAP, it shows that there is corruption within the actual PAP parliament and within the secretariat. However, SADC, the secretariat is very, very well organized and it's properly funded. There's proper funding of SADC. They are meeting with international bodies. So SADC will not suddenly change their position on Mnangagwa. It's going to be standing. This position on ED is standing, that he rigged the 2023 election. And then follow up implementation of council decisions and carry out other functions at the behest of council. So certainly there is going to be dialogue in Zimbabwe. Do not listen to anything else. The dialogue is going to take place. SADC is not going to suddenly shelve their report. But what ED is saying to them is that move away from the elections and let's move on and talk about other things. And then SADC must just pretend as if the report did not happen. But that's not how it works. There is a process, and ED is going to have to follow that process. You are going to see more and more meetings, and eventually Chamisa is going to be out in public with the SADC guys. Because remember, I said the ball is in Chamisa's court. Chamisa now has the license from that report by SADC that the election was rigged. He's got a license to go anywhere he wants. Chamisa should not even worry himself about what's happening in Zimbabwe. And I've said to you, Chamisa doesn't even have to go to a court in Zimbabwe. The decision by SADC, the CEO, that election was not free and fair. It's final. And if you look at the SADC website, you see that the election in Madagascar was free and fair. And the election in DRC, right now, they're going to be overseeing that election. You can't have the only election in the region that is not free and fair and then think that everything is going to be normal. So it's not going to be normal. It's not going to end that way. So SADC is not in Zimbabwe to visit ED or to give him solidarity messages. And as I said, I'm going to post this full speech by President Mnangagwa. You see that there was no private media there. There was just Ruben Barwe. And the actual contents of what happened is not going to be given to the public in the way that you think. So let's look at who was there. As I said, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Shava, he was there. Apologies there. That's my waking up time. All right, so I get lots of alarms because I barely sleep. And I hope you can still see me. So there was Shawa, there was Secretary for Foreign Affairs and International Trade, J. Manzo. So this is a delegation. Don't forget what I'm saying here. This was a proper SADC to Zimbabwe government negotiation or SADC to Mnangagwa negotiation. And then there was Augustino da Silva, ambassador of the Republic of Angola and chairman of SADC ambassadors. And then Francisco Cigaro, ambassador of the Republic of Mozambique and dean of SADC ambassadors. These were the people that was there. And so their communication to ED was, the CM report is out, you failed to meet the elders, you failed to present a position. Now we need to implement. And this is where it is. And as I said, Chamisa now has to push this. This is something that Chamisa has to push, even in international courts. Chamisa can go and push the fact that SADC has found that the election was not free and fair. AU has found that the election was not free and fair. EU has found that the election was not free and fair. The only people that have recognized, or president that is recognized, President Mnangagwa, is the president of South Africa, President Ramaphosa. And therefore, I think he wants to take a mediation role. But mediation is coming. The situation in Zimbabwe is not normal. Look what is happening now with the decimation of the CCC. So this is crazy. What is happening in Zimbabwe? ED is playing hardball. And SADC is well aware of things like the abductions that are taking place in Zimbabwe, the illegal recall of the CCC MPs, senators, and councillors, and the continued violence that took place after the election. So some of the violence that took place after the elections, especially in Mashonaland West, was the rape of female election agents of the CCC. Not one or two, a lot of them at the polling stations. So this report is coming out and it's in the local media now. This week, we're starting to get more detail. They were being paid. So the ZANU-PF guys, the FAS guys, were paying $150 for CCC election agents to get out of the room. And where the girls refused, one girl in the case, which is in the news day from yesterday, she was dragged out of the room and some guys raped her from outside the polling station. And these things are well known, they're documented by SADC. They're also documented by other election observer agencies. So ED can say a lot of things and he can play hardball, but this is not going to go away. The SADC report is here to stay. And negotiation and eventually a power sharing agreement is going to come into place. And so this is where we are. Do not listen to any other thing. If you listen to Robert Barwe and what he's saying, you would think that SADC ambassadors went there out of the blue and then they're just happy to congratulate President Mnangagwa all of a sudden. That's not true. And the truth is that the SADC process has kicked off. They can't just leave the thing the way it is now. It's not correct. The election in Zimbabwe, not valid at all. And Chamisa also needs to challenge the possible ascendance of President Mnangagwa to be chairman of SADC. And this needs to be challenged in courts, in international courts, even at SADC. This needs to be brought up. He cannot become chairman when the SADC has said his election was not free and fair. Right, and I think I will stop here. Let me give you the critical stories that are in the newspapers today. And let's start with corruption at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. I told you the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe is the most corrupt institution in the whole country. They licensed the bank called Avis Bank. They did not issue a statement when they licensed that bank. You don't know who the shareholders are. The bank failed to register or to open. And suddenly they've cancelled the license. And now they've issued a statement to say they've cancelled the license. But they didn't say who or why was involved. There is something very, very fishy going on with Avis Bank. And Mnangagwa has become a very, very serious problem in Zimbabwe. Then CCC, they've given Chamisa another opportunity to go for dialogue. So they're saying, let's do dialogue again. There's no other option except to continue dialogue. That was the decision of the National Citizens Assembly this week, that Chamisa should continue with dialogue. Then Charumbira has been told to step down from Pan-African Parliament because of the sexual allegations. You know, he tried to abused his relative in Masvingo, and the police case was opened. But the police in Zimbabwe are refusing to open a docket. Then more than 150 people have died in Zimbabwe from cholera, of which there has been 1,500 cases of cholera, mostly killing children. So children are being killed by cholera in Zimbabwe, and areas like Glenview, they are most affected because of the water situation in the country. There was also a serious massive storm in Mashona in the west, areas around Hurungwe going that side to Kariba, which blew off roofs and damaged a lot of property. And George Chigova, I think that's the correct name, a Zimbabwean footballer. Let me get this name correct. I don't want. Yes, George Chigova was buried yesterday. He died of heart attack. Very, very popular footballer and goalkeeper here in South Africa. So this is the headlines in today's newspaper. And as I said, SADC certainly on top of the situation, but Chamisa needs to push. There needs to be a concerted effort from Chamisa's side to get this sorted out. We cannot continue like this. And if Chamisa fails to do this now, there is going to be a crisis going forward. 2028, there will probably be an outbreak of violence. We cannot have this situation that is there right now. It's a very, very bad situation. And ED is playing handball like this. And the international community is waiting for Chamisa to make his move. And it has to be a drastic move. It can't be the normal move that he normally makes. So this is it for today, Friday. Normally, I don't do any evening reports, but I'm going to be publishing a statement by Senator Kalipani Pugeni giving us an update on the court case tonight. So we'll look forward to that statement by Senator Kalipani Pugeni at 9:10 p.m. today, the usual slot where I speak. And then we'll take it over from there on the weekend. Sorry, Agent, I think you just corrected me there. You said Chigova Aruku Vigwanasi, which means Chigova is being buried today. I think I did not understand what was happening when I saw Kamabilet and all the other guys. Probably they were at the memorial service. So the burial is today. And yeah, that is it. There is really no light at the end of the tunnel if we don't follow the SADC process. And Chamisa needs to understand that. All this thing of MPs, senators, and councillors is just sideshows. But we need power sharing, we need negotiations. This is where we are going so that things can work in Zimbabwe. Thank you very much, everybody. And I'll talk to you again probably tomorrow night, Saturday. And we'll be giving you any update. As soon as something new comes, we'll be giving you an update. Thank you very much and good morning.